Big Red State welcoming Big Red Tractors, the Red Power Roundup 2023, celebrating American icon, 100 years of the Farmall tractor. We head to the celebration and visit with classic tractor lovers who bleed red. Plus, what if you could take chances on the farm without risk? Find out as we visit the Taps field. And Custer County pays tribute to its homesteading roots, one sod brick at a time. That and much more. It's time to grow. Welcome to Grow at Red Power Roundup. Much more on that in just a moment. But first, regulators update rules regarding your water. The changes may impact farmers and reflect efforts to more carefully control nitrogen applications. The Central Platte NRD's new water plan goes into effect July 1 with new rules to follow. The CPNRD says the new plan allows more flexibility as they anticipate changes in technology. You can check out all the changes on our website. And now, a farmer's perspective.
And those little blocks.
He makes his living in the dirt, but Lon Bone lives in the space age. Satellite data tells him when to fertilize, a far cry from farmers of a generation ago.
Nitrogen was cheap, it was easy to apply, and we saw some results, and we thought, well, more is better.
But water sampling across Nebraska finds many wells high in nitrates, linked to health problems like cancer. It's a problem that didn't develop overnight, and turning it around takes time.
Because of the way natural systems work, it takes years, sometimes decades, once you realize you have a problem, to make a change.
Regulators say rules written in 1985 need to be modernized.
So we need to continually do a little bit better, both on the NRD regulation side and on the producer side.
The updated water plan approved by the Central Platte Natural Resources District makes a few key changes. If groundwater levels are in decline, it could trigger more regulations. They're also concerned about water quality as they lower the thresholds where nitrate levels are high enough to bring new regulations.
In the areas that we haven't seen improvement, or it's not improving at the rate we would like to see, we do need to step it up and increase those triggers.
Bone says farmers have economic incentive to use less fertilizer as costs have skyrocketed. He's also adopted technology that tells him when to irrigate and fertilize.
Now we have more precise ways of measuring that.
As an elected member of the board regulating groundwater along the Central Platte, he says the new plan better reflects science while also anticipating new advances.
We're headed there. We're going to get there.
Now that they've adopted that plan, the next step, reviewing rules and regulations to enforce it. The Central Nebraska Public Power and Irrigation District and Dawson Public Power District say they'll refile their petition to merge. This after the Nebraska Power Review Board rejected the merger because the charter did not include a statement that Central does not have the power to issue general obligation bonds. Meanwhile, the group fighting the merger says the Phelps County Commission has approved a resolution opposed to it. They say the Tri-Basin NRD and Kearney County Commissioners have approved similar resolutions. To see our coverage of this proposed merger, including what both sides are saying about it, you can sure search for that on our website, nebraska.tv. Some call this risk-free farming because it's not their money on the line.
And then you won't get any of it.
Irrigation is the lifeblood of Nebraska agriculture. Julie Loudon learned from her dad how to irrigate old school. But as his retirement nears, this high school ag teacher is the student in a risk-free environment.
This is a zero-stakes way of practicing management decisions. My dad currently is a principal operator at our farm, but he's looking to retire and make sure that my sister and I can get along making the rest of the decisions that go into making a farm successful.
This isn't her farm, it's a university research project. Folks from across Nebraska log on to the web and tell those on the ground what to do.
Gives them that opportunity to test things out here, try something different, and when it works out for them, then they go ahead and implement it at home.
Kenny Ray Frankie is another family farmer.
It's Father-Daughter Day.
As she learns to color in the lines, he's playing in a big sandbox, trying things he might not do on his own farm.
It's just a way to look at different practices and not have the real world risk.
He's more willing to cut back on nitrogen and water when he has nothing to lose, lessons others have taken back home.
We reduced our irrigation by another 10%, and we're still profitable.
Agriculture is high risk. Whether an experienced farmer becoming more efficient or a family transitioning, this is a safe place to take chances.
It's a proving grounds for us that we actually know what we're doing and can keep the farm successful for many more generations.
Federal officials outlining their plan to manage wildfires this year. The USDA and Interior Department say they aim to have more than 17,000 wildland firefighters on board by the end of this year to help support communities increasingly impacted by wildfires. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack says President Biden has proposed permanent pay increases, better housing, and better mental and physical health resources for those firefighters. Last year, nearly 69,000 wildfires burned more than 7.5 million acres across the United States. Senator Pete Ricketts voicing concerns about China becoming a leader in space and rejecting international space rules.
This matter is incredibly important to all of us. From using ATMs to harvesting our food, we all rely on satellite technology. In my home state of Nebraska, for example, we rely heavily on satellite technology to run our harvesting machines, the tractors, and so forth. In fact, one farmer told one of my staff members that if it wasn't for satellite technology, he was worried that his equipment would be useless.
Ricketts raising concerns during a hearing for the nominee for the ambassador to Djibouti. The African country has a deal with China for a proposed spaceport. An ambassador says she would engage private U.S. companies to help African countries compete in space. Pleased to be joined by a longtime farm broadcaster, Max Armstrong, at Red Power Roundup. Fun show. It's cool to see some red iron here.
It's been one of the best, I think. You know, I haven't been to all of them over the years, but it sure is a good one.
Anything in particular that's caught your eye, or are you just taking it all in here?
Well, there's so many tractors, and as you look around, you'll always see something you've never seen before. But it's really kind of unusual to see this kind of array of tractors, and from a fairly wide geography. Some folks have hauled these from a few states away.
And obviously not just tractors, but there's a lot of different things that international name shows up on.
Yeah, combines, trucks, refrigerators, firearms, the M1 rifles that were manufactured by IH in the plant at Evansville, Indiana, back in the World War II era. I think a lot of people forget just how diverse the company was.
Right. And we're celebrating this year 100 years of that farm. That's kind of an iconic name in agriculture.
Oh, it really is, by all means. We're going to have a special tractor ride tied in with the Farm Progress Show in Illinois at the end of August to commemorate the 100 years. My history goes way back. My mom and dad got their Super H the same year they got me. Wow. And it was delivered to a dealership 2 blocks from where I was delivered to the hospital the same summer. So I go way back with that tractor.
And it's fun to be in Grand Island, Nebraska, because this is where the red combines that are built. You must have done the plant tour.
Yeah,
that is a cool tour, isn't it?
It really is. It's so much fun to see local people working in that plant. Some of them, I think, farm in the community as well. And they're just so welcoming. When we were there a few years ago, I really enjoyed it.
As much as it's fun to see the tractors, it's more fun, I think, to hear the stories and the memories. And about every one of these machines has a story behind it, and you're likely to hear something.
You're exactly right. And the thing I say is the tractors brought us together originally. It's the people that keep us coming back.
All right. Well, Max, make sure to check them out this week in agribusiness.
That's right. You bet. Always pleased to be there each weekend. We've done this for a while.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.
Much more from Red Power Roundup when Grow returns. Up next, we visit with Steve Melvin of Nebraska Extension about irrigating during drought.
This portion of NTV's Grow is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
Irrigation, even more important here in Nebraska as parts of the state continue to experience extreme to exceptional drought. Nebraska Extension has been studying the water farmers are putting down on crops. And Steve joining us now from Nebraska Extension to talk about the findings. Steve, thanks for speaking with us. We talked to you when you had 5 years of data from the Upper Big Blue Natural Resources District. Tell us, what are you finding after 6 years?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sarah. Yeah, we've collected this data now and analyzed it again. And what we tend to find is that farmers tend to put on about the same amount of water each year with only minor adjustments for dry years versus wet years. And really the conclusion, I think, this year that guys really need to pay attention to in the areas that have not received any moisture at all this spring is that last year was really dry. Guys put on typical amount of water, but left the fields pretty dry. And then where we haven't received any moisture all winter and even into the spring, I'm over by Central City, and we just really haven't gotten anything in this area, and some others the same way. And guys probably need to think about going out and making sure the field isn't one, because there's about 20% that did have good moisture, but there's about 80% of the fields that are really pretty dry. And we usually start out with a full profile of moisture in those irrigated fields. And so we probably need to pump just a little extra water here in June on a lot of those fields so we can start out and have plenty of moisture when we get into the high water use days of July and August.
Is there anything else they need to be doing differently this year?
Yeah, I think so. The whole thing with pumping a little bit of extra water, I think it really gets important to put some soil water monitoring equipment out there or use a soil probe or something, and not just go in the top, foot or 18 inches, but down to 3 or 4 feet and really figure out where that's at. If somebody wants to see that report, they can certainly do a search online for it under the UNL Crop Watch newsletter and find the rest of it. But particularly with the lower capacity irrigation systems, it's just important to get that soil profile build up like we expect to find it each year, but not this year, unfortunately, with the drought.
Yeah, and I know we're running out of time, but I wanted to get this question in. How can farmers know just how much water to apply?
Yeah, that really boils down to being able to measure it, and soil water monitoring equipment is probably the best method to do that, and look at what happened last year and kind of see how it played out, and do the same thing this year, or use some crop water use numbers from a weather station. Either way works pretty well.
All right, we'll have more details on the study on our website, nebraska.tv. Thanks so much, Steve.
You bet. Thank you.
Rooted in agriculture, folks in Custer County unearth history one sod brick at a time. Cut it, roll it, lift it.
Lift it back up.
A sod house takes shape, something many have only seen through the lens of history.
My grandfather had a picture of my great-grandmother sitting in front of it.
The photo isn't all Kevin Cooksley has to remember that 1879 soddy. Once the roof goes up, it'll feature a ridgepole from that original home, a piece of wood that could have been scrapped, but this rancher is also history's caretaker.
If you know Kevin, you know why he saved it.
He knew a day would come he'd want it, and that time is now.
There you go.
As dozens of volunteers meticulously recreate every detail.
Yeah, we don't have enough to do.
Laying the sod bricks, grass sign down, ensuring visitors will glimpse the craftsmanship.
I have due appreciation for how hard it was to build a sod house. Now I understand why they didn't live to be old men either.
The soddy joins the Red Barn that serves as a visitor center along Highway 2 in Broken Bow, a scenic byway through the Sandhills.
Custer County is famous for butchers' photographs of the sod houses, and we thought for tourism and things like that we should have a sod house.
The ones they found were in rough condition, so they're building a new one with time-tested practices along with modern conveniences.
Skid steers are really nice.
The walls show off pioneer ingenuity, 2 feet thick with natural insulation. Mike Evans has gained new insight.
It's amazing that they settled this country.
Not only are they recreating history, they're paying tribute to photographer Solomon Butcher, who captured struggles on the plains.
Definitely are standing on the shoulders of people who worked their tails off to give us this legacy we have today.
Volunteers dig deep to showcase the resiliency of those who settled the land brick by brick.
Very humbling. I hope it'll be here long after I'm gone.
Our Grow Weather Outlook is next, and later more from Red Power Roundup.
NTV's Grow Weather is sponsored by Acres Equipment, solutions for every field. Acres has what you need to get the job done.
The drought monitor, really nothing you could call an improvement this week. The amount of land in northeast Kansas down as far as the no drought area. It's still at 9.17%. 90.75% abnormally dry in the Sunflower State. Moderate drought 79.75%, and severe 61.5%. It's the extreme that's way up there. 43.75%. Exceptional has risen to 13.81%. Nebraska, it was a 2% area, now 1.78%. No drought in the southeast corner. 98.25% abnormally dry. Moderate drought in Nebraska, 75.25%. Severe, 57.33%. The extreme, 20.25%. And the exceptional is 10.86%. The good news is there is rain in the forecast again this week, and temperatures will be on the warm to hot side as we head into tomorrow and Tuesday especially. Temperatures for June expected to average as a whole well above normal. The northeast corner of Kansas and eastern Nebraska above normal for a big share of northeast Kansas, and pretty much the western 2/3 of Nebraska. Otherwise, normal temperatures expected in both states in those white areas, or the ones that don't have those colors on them. Above normal as far as rain, the western half of Nebraska well above normal. The Panhandle, the western half of Kansas above normal. Precip-wise, normal precip the eastern part of both states. As far as the 3-month outlook, temperatures above normal for southwest and southern Kansas, as well as the southwest portion of Nebraska's Panhandle. Otherwise, normal temperatures expected. The eastern portion, southeast portion of Nebraska expecting for the next 3 months for precip to be above normal. Otherwise, normal rain and snow possibly expected. Well, let's hope not. Snow in August at least. Juneteenth Day tomorrow, and it will be hot. 92, 94 on Tuesday, the first day of summer. Plenty warm, just not hot. 89, 85 on Thursday, 87 on Friday. Chances of showers and storms begin on Tuesday. Normal highs for this time of year should be around 84, low 62. We will average in the week ahead 89, our average low 64. Here's one you'll have to write down and check your calendar. When it's the hottest in June, it will be the coldest in the next February on corresponding days. So write down those days. It's in the upper 80s and the 90s and maybe even triple digits before the month is over. That is your Grow Report for this week. Join us again next time when, once again, it will be time to grow.
We want to see your pictures, whether you've been at a rodeo or Red Power Roundup. Send them our way. Go to nebraska.tv/chime in. Classic red tractors converge in the Big Red State. Coming up, we take you to Big Red Roundup.
Ag Youth of the Month is sponsored by Landmark Implement. Experience the Landmark difference with locations across Nebraska and northern Kansas.
The engines of nostalgia rumble loudly. Tractor lovers are seeing red.
I love red.
This Minnesotan found a classic machine from his youth.
One of the earlier self-propelled combines that International Harvester built. My dad bought a new one in 1948. I was about 6 or 7 years old.
Farmall is an iconic name.
The tractor that made it possible for the row crop farmer to get away from the horse.
As they celebrate the 100th anniversary of the first Farmall model, enthusiasts say it quickly became the tractor of choice for the American farmer.
All through the 40s and 50s was #1 undisputed king of producing tractors.
But not just tractors.
I kind of specialize in the international trucks, and but International made a lot of different things, appliances, and you name it, they made it seem like.
And no collection is ever complete.
Yeah, it's kind of like a disease, you know, you just have to keep collecting.
And the only place to see this many red tractors at once is the Red Power Roundup. Nebraska plays host as thousands gather, but it's not really about tractors.
The thing I say is the tractors brought us together originally. It's the people that keep us coming back.
International Harvester fans bleed red.
I've made friends all over the country. I come here to see my friends, and we get together and we have a wonderful time.
Behind each tractor, certainly a story, and it's been a blast to hear a lot of those great memories. And if this event ever comes back this way, make sure to put it on your calendar because you don't want to miss the Red Power Roundup. Well, it's been a pleasure being with you. We'll see you again next time as we see how agriculture makes Nebraska grow.
NTV's Grow is brought to you by Aurora Cooperative. Tougher together, Aurora and you.